What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. This was a good one. This is, in fact, the overall Fear the Walking Dead Season 6 has been on point. Forget about World Beyond, it's all about fear this time around. Because this is just, man, this is how you do it. This is the storytelling that we're used to. This is the excitement we're used to. This is the emotion we're used to. And we're not getting any of that in World Beyond. It's just like a teen drama with some walkers in it. So there goes that. But you know what? Let's get into this. Let's talk about it. I am your host, Adam Vale. I'm joined by Dana Abercrombie.
I am very excited to talk about this episode. Yay!
And Richard Bailey Jr.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, real quick. Thanks again, everybody, for listening and subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Just thanks for visiting the site over at the Koalition with a K, Koalition.com. That's where we are all from. We do game reviews, movies, TV shows, all that stuff. It's great. Over 10 years. So go ahead, check it out. And man, we are thrilled. This was a great episode. I loved it. I love this episode. All right, so let's just get into it. This is episode 6 of Fear the Walking Dead Season 6, titled Bury Her Next to Jasper's Leg. All right, so the opening scene, we see a woman running into the woods. She's just running. It's during the day, which I find it interesting, because usually these type of scenes is at night, right? Someone's trying to escape. It's night. Nope, it's during the day. She's running. She falls down. There just so happens to be a walker next to her. I was about to say empty, because of that damn World Beyond, but there was a walker. We see that she was being chased. We got 2 Rangers and Virginia. They're all on horseback. They approach. Virginia gives this whole little speech about a frog, and just basically trying to figure out what's going on. Why are you doing this? Where are you running? And she sees that the sign on the side of like one of the trees. We see the end is the beginning. It's a spray can. A spray paint on the tree. She's doing this in her group, and she said, "You've been with us for what? How long?" She's like, "Over a year." Yeah, over a year. So what is this? Why are you spray painting this? What does this mean? What's going on? And she doesn't want to say anything. And then Virginia looks around and she's like, we've been in these woods before, right? It's like, oh, yeah, Jasper. Jasper worked in these woods. Yeah, before he lost his leg. So then there goes with someone with the opening. So now we know Jasper used to work in the woods. And it looks like this woman, I don't think they said her name, but she also works in the woods. So whether cutting down wood for the cabins or whatever they need. And she says, hey, you've been part of this rebuilding process with us. Why are you trying to sabotage it? What are you trying to do? Again, she doesn't say anything. She says, you know what? Come on, we're going to go. We're going to bring you back. We're going to question. We're going to figure this out. So as the 2 Rangers go to pick her up because she was on the ground, she just so happens to grab one of the guns. She's pointing it at all 3 of them. They're pointing their guns at her. Virginia's like, listen, calm down. We don't need to go this route. What do you want? And she's like, I don't want anything. This is just how it has to be. And then she takes the gun, points it to herself, and boom, blows her head off. There goes that. Which is the true death right there, because then she won't turn into a walker. But still, I found it interesting. I was like, this is why in my notes I wrote down, the end is the beginning is a cult. It's not another group. I think it's just a cult. And they have their own motives. And it pretty much is just to sabotage everything. They want to see the world burn. So this was the opening scene. So what do you think, Rich? What did you get from this opening scene right here?
Well, this scene made me even more interested to find out who is this group. The end is the beginning, because they are brought up multiple times in this episode. To know that somebody would be willing to kill themselves rather than work with Virginia, that is very telling about them not trusting how she does things. So I thought it was a great way to open, because I assumed it was going to just open and show us more about whichever character was going to be highlighted in this episode. But they, again, are letting you know there is someone else that Virginia and everybody else needs to be worried about.
Mm-hmm. Dana?
I love Virginia and her stories. Every time she meets someone or there's a situation, she has that story ready for you. So I like that part. This one, the fact that it was in the daytime and that she was running kind of also just says Virginia just doesn't care. She'll come and get you no matter what. She doesn't wait for the cover of darkness or anything. And it also shows that there is always going to be this constant threat of danger. Now, when it comes to the group, the end is the beginning, I can say that they're kind of a cult, but for me, I'm not there yet in the sense of fully believing that. And we'll learn a little bit more about some of their motives later on. But I just kind of feel that these are people who always have their eyes out, and we don't know who is part of this group. I feel that they're very easy to infiltrate other people. And then the fact that she's been with them for over a year. When did she join this other group? How long she's been with them? Even the fact that she came to Virginia, she could have already been with this other group, and they're just infiltrating different parts. And they've been around for a long time. We don't know. They could have been when, the very beginning with the sky falling. So that could, make it kind of apocalyptic type of cult there. But then it doesn't really, to me, fully make sense for them to be a cult in the sense that they want to watch everyone else suffer. I think, for me, I feel they have a very strong motive, and this is going back to the earlier episodes. Remember, we saw a submarine. Remember, we saw a key. And there's different things maybe that is to a launch pad of the submarine. I'm not.
There's a lot, yeah. And hopefully, I don't know. In my mind, I'm hoping that the leader of this group is someone that we know. Maybe it could be somebody else from Walking Dead or earlier in Fear Walking Dead universe. Because there's a lot of characters that disappeared that we don't know if they died or not. There was some people on the dam in that season when that blew up. So who knows? But anyway, the next scene, it's very cool. And when I saw this, I was thinking, man, this would be a great spin-off in itself. It's like a traveling hospital or a traveling makeshift ambulance, but really in the back of a massive truck, the hull of a truck. Because we see the hull of a truck just designed almost like an ambulance, but then also more advanced because it's got the beds, it's got the cots, it's got the stretchers, it's got all the things you would need. And then the doors open. We see that there's Sarah from the group. We also see June. And we see that there's a man that Sarah is running with. He's hurt. You see some walkers after them. June's trying to help, trying to figure out what's going on with him. They kill the walkers. There was only like 2 or 3. They get him in the truck. They lay him down. I was like, what's going on? He's like, it wasn't a bite. He's got some pains. She's checking him. June is, and if people don't remember, she was a nurse for many years in the ER. Right, and she even spits it out here for those who didn't know. That was in the previous seasons that were mentioned. So it looks like this is what they do. She travels around now for the group, and they go to all these different colonies or the different locations that are part of Virginia's compound, the pioneers. Remember, she says she had different locations. So this is what she does. She travels around with it. There's no default location. It is this truck. And she starts feeling around, says, hey, it's your appendix. It needs to be removed. And he's freaking out. It's like, well, I want the doctor. And then they said, well, that doctor's dead. So this is all you have. He's like, can you do this? Have you ever done it before? She's like, I worked in the ER. I've seen this done a bunch of times. I love that answer, but she was being genuine. It wasn't a joke because they give him some whiskey. She gives him some meds. She knocks him out. And what happens? Sarah whips out a book. That is the biggest fear I think anyone has, that if they go under during an operation, that there's a hidden camera that they watch afterwards. Like, so how did they go? I mean, was it quick? Oh, you didn't see? He had to whip out a book. The nurse had to go to the library over there and get a book. And he was turning pages. He was clueless for a while. No, that was scary shit. So she takes out the book. She was like reading it. All right, turn the page. She's cutting. She makes 2 incisions. All of a sudden, he flatlines. I think they were like, oh, is this something we did? She's like, no. It's just the infection. The appendix infection is spreading. So she gets up. She's trying to revive him. She's doing the whole thing. Sarah's like, it's too late. That's it. Let it go. She starts freaking out. She's like, I can't believe it. I told him it'll be okay. His name was Malcolm, and it didn't happen. She starts being hard on herself. And Sarah's like, well, this is it. We can't save everybody. We can't do this. And Sarah starts getting into a deep emotional breakdown of the whole process. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of driving around. I can't really do anything this way. And what I need is a real location. I need a hospital. And she's like, she's going to talk to Virginia about getting this hospital instead of having to travel around. And now which she could just watch them and, just be stationary. Having everything on the back of the truck, as cool as that truck looks, I guess is not ideal. Because even if they did do the removal, they still have to treat them. You need to be in a clean environment. I'm sure it wasn't that clean in the back of this truck. But it was really interesting. I liked this scene. This whole scene here. It was very cool. And I said to myself, man, this would be great to see a show of just, or at least a segment of certain shows of Walking Dead, of just this traveling truck hospital type thing, just going to different areas and all the things that they can encounter. You put like 2 or 3 people part of this truck, and there you go. It could be its own little mini webisode or whatever. But real quick, before we close out this, we see that John gets on the walkie. He's driving around. He said that he was filling in for Corey, who had, it sounds like, too much to drink. So I guess Virginia doesn't really go too hard on people that overdrink and can't work. Because he was like, I'm just filling in. So are you still at the same location? They said, yeah. He's like, I'll be there in 5 minutes. You're going to drive for me, and Sarah can just take the truck. So before I go any further, anything you guys want to say about this cool-looking makeshift hospital in the back of a truck? Dana?
I really love the idea of the makeshift hospital. It's not original, but it really works in this environment.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really love it. And also you could see kind of like the pure passion that Jenna Elfman's character, I was slipping my brain, that she has for
June.
Not only June, sorry, I don't know where that went, but for saving people. And also you could see that she's struggling herself. There is a motive as to why she's working so hard with this. The fact that she had to pull out a book and go from that, I thought it was really funny. I'm not going to say like a matter of convenience, because that whole atmosphere with their in, to me, would make sense that it would be in that the medical books would be around. But yes, that is kind of your worst fear of going to and operating, and the guy is, a woman is reading from the book of how to do things. But it was something that was just a really bad situation because it spread it already. But the fact that he kind of jumped up and kind of turned back into a zombie, there was that moment where I did not know if she would get bit or get scratched or anything.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because that was a really, because remember, it's not just the fact that he turned; they're in a confined space. So that I thought was really well done.
Yeah, and that's right. I almost forgot about that part. He did turn. Malcolm did turn in a matter of seconds, which just shows how quick it could happen. And a matter of seconds, and there was a little fight there, and then Sarah took him out, and she said, "Well, that's why I'm here, to help you and protect you." So that explains why. We're trying to explain why Sarah is accompanying her on these searches. But I was like, either way, it doesn't matter, because she would need help. I would think somebody would need to go along and help her. But at least we know that Sarah is part of that group, because we know that June is part of the group, because we saw in the last episode when she reunited, the episode before. Well, there was the last episode when she reunited with John. So I guess she brought over Sarah with her, because John never bumped into Sarah in town. So whatever. But it was good. Rich, anything about this makeshift hospital?
Yeah, I just want to say, from the minute I saw them pull Marcus into the makeshift hospital, I knew this guy was turning. So I'm glad that they committed to that. Yeah. Well, say what? What'd you say?
Malcolm, and then, I don't know, Dana's saying something. I don't know.
No, I was, Malcolm.
Oh, okay. All right, keep going.
Yeah. From the minute that they brought him into there, I knew that this guy was turning, and I'm very glad that they committed to that, because again, there were already walkers outside the van that was coming towards the van, so you would think that they would be safe now that they're okay. Now we're back in our vehicle. Now we're safe. But once again, that just goes to show you how fast it can happen where someone could turn. So I am glad that they committed to that idea, because I figured that was coming, especially when you start hearing the beeping sounds to let you know, okay, the guy is passed. It was great.
It reminded... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Continue.
No, go.
Oh, no, and the only thing I was going to say is I agree with everything that you and Dana said about June's compassion, her wanting to get her up her own hospital. She felt really bad, took that loss extremely bad. And I think that was foreshadowing for what was to come later.
Oh yeah. And then still part of the same scene, John shows up, she gets in the car, they're following behind the truck, and this is where she's still bummed by it. And she was like, she can't believe she lost this guy, and she's just thinking about it. But that's not on John's mind. John is like, Hey, listen, I got other plans. Can you stop talking? Listen, this is what's going on here. I'm fed up with this. We're going to run off. Janice told me this whole thing about having fuel and food and a ride outside of town. We're going to take this. We're going to go. We don't need to do this anymore. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, leaving? Running away? It's like, yes, we're leaving. We don't need this. She was like, but, people need help. I said, what about me? I need help. I can't do this no more. I'm ready to go. And she's just now she's sort of confused by it because she's like, well, we gotta know. Because remember, she wants to help, like you just said. She wants to help. She just lost somebody that she thought she could save, and there's other things. She's thinking about a hospital. There's other things going on in her head. But no, John's ready to go. He's just fed up with his role in this community. But at that same time, she gets a call on a walkie. It turns out that it's Lucia, right? Or we just call her Lucy. And she's also from the original group, and she's over at the oil site. Right, there's a tunnel area headed over there. I wasn't sure. I think this is the first time we've really seen this site the way they portrayed it. We've heard about it, but we've never really seen it this way. And she says that there was a big accident and that she needs to head down. At the same time, John also gets a call on his walkie-talkie that he needs to report to the same accident. All right, so then boom, they get to this location. We see bodies everywhere. We see smoke. We see this long tunnel. Now, I understand, and I remember from the previous seasons, they talked about how Virginia was controlling oil, and that's what she was gathering. She had these oil refineries, and that's what she was running and doing the whole process. But this looked like a tunnel. So I was like, I don't remember seeing this.
It was a mine
It was a mine, yeah.
It was a mine.
Yeah, it was exactly.
Yeah.
It was a mine tunnel. But as you see later, we'll get to the actual drilling site. So that's where it threw me off. I'm like, wait, what is this? This is not connected, because they were still calling it the well. And I was like, yeah, the well is where you were calling for the oil. Anyway, they get to this site. There's a lot of bodies, a lot of injured. June starts running around, talks to Lucia, what's going on, what's happening. She's like, I don't know, something happened. There's a fire, there was an explosion, and she's trying to get people out. She gets on the walkie, she's trying to call Wes. Remember Wes from the part of the group again. He's still in there somewhere. So she's calling, she's trying to reach out. He's not responding. She tells June, we got to go in. We have to go in. At the same time, SUV shows up, Rangers come out, and there we go. Virginia's there. Virginia is very hands-on with all of this. If you haven't noticed, that to the point that I'm like, you know what, maybe she isn't that bad. Because most, quote-unquote dictators and rulers, they get their goons to do everything. They don't really partake. They don't get their hands dirty. They're eating great food and drinking fine wine. No, she's out there whenever there's something. They had to go hunt somebody in the woods. She's there. There's a big explosion. She's first right there on the scene. And then what follows after that is even more interesting, because she doesn't send her goons to go investigate. She was like, you know what? I'm going in there with you. And they're like, what? She was like, yeah, I'm going to go. I need to find out what's going on here. I need to find out who did this. She tells John, you go up to the top. You take watch. Make sure the only thing falling on us is oil. So she already knows, or she's thinking that she knows, that this is sabotage. Remember, nobody else knows about this yet. The crew that do know about the signs of the end is the beginning is Dwight and Al, and they're elsewhere. They haven't communicated with these guys at all. So everyone else doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. It's like, well, whatever. You want to come? Let's go. So at this part, and I wrote in my notes, I'm like, wait, because June she gives a kiss to John, and this is when usually is a trope for most of these type of shows. She says, you know what? When we're done here, once I save these people and help whoever I can, I'm taking you up on your offer. We're gonna leave. We're leaving together. We're running off. And he gives her a kiss. I'm like, that's usually a goodbye kiss, right? That's like, oh shit, this is it. She's gonna die, or he's gonna die. They had to give us that one moment. So, but there's the part that I wrote in my notes, like, where's she going? She goes running into the tunnel, but then the next scene, once we cut back, they're now at the drill site. So unless that tunnel leads to the drill site, is that how? But we know it's a mining tunnel. I don't know.
The mine is next to the drill site.
Yes, the mine is next to the drill site. So, but the part is that they just show her now getting out of a truck when she wasn't running toward the direction of the truck. It's probably a minor thing. It's a bad cut, whatever. The point is, this is where it gets really good, because once she gets, before I jump, anybody want to say anything about this scene? Did you like it? The fact that Virginia was getting involved, very hands-on with all this? Dana?
I thought that was very smart. I felt that it was a situation where I know you were like, oh, she's a dictator. I don't see her that way.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't see her.
Yeah, that's how you gain the trust of people. But you also put that fear in their heart so they don't run away. And we've seen what happens when they run away. But to me, I thought that, and also if you're kind of paranoid that there's someone out there trying to turn against you or some type of mutiny, you want to be there on the scene. So I liked that she did that.
Yep, that is true. All right. So, Rich, you got anything? Or are you ready to move on?
Yeah, the only thing I will add is I'm glad that they did add her to this because again, the call back to the beginning of the episode, how she was involved in what happened at the very beginning. Uh, but I feel that when she made the comment about put her body next to Jasper's leg, it's like she's a little bit nonchalant about what actually happens in these situations where people are sacrificed or they decide to kill themselves or whatever. So I'm glad that they put her in this situation because obviously this is a very serious, escalating situation. So right from there, I knew she was going to learn something from this experience. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thumbs up.
Yep. Thumbs up. Yep. So then now we get back into the next scene and we see that Sarah's driving the truck. We got Lucy's shotgun. We got June in the cab also. And I couldn't tell if Virginia was in that car or she was in her own car. But once everyone gets out, we see she pops up. She's there with her people. She's like, all right, let's do this. They're at the oil site. We see the oil pumping everywhere. We see fires everywhere. Beautiful set. Awesome set design. That was just in the moment. Everything was cool because as they're walking and talking, they're covering their faces. You see oil falling on them. That must have been fun to shoot. That must have been fun on set right there. Just that whole experience. So they get over there. They're trying to find out what's going on. They run into one of the locations where there's a bunch of would-be survivors. There's a lot of injured people there. On the ground. And then sure enough, June finds Wes. He's in the corner. He's hurt. Right? He's all banged up. And he's got like pieces of metal stuck in him, and she's like, what happened here? And he's not really saying much. Virginia walks in. She was like, I want answers. I want to know what's happening with the sabotage, what's going on. Because she had, when walking into that area, right before she walked in, what did you see off in the distance on one of those bins, one of the side of the buildings? It said, the end is the beginning. So now that solidifies her theory that this was not an accident. This was sabotage. She knows it. Something's going on here, and she wants answers. So once she goes in there, while June is over there talking with Sarah, we got to get some supplies. We got to save this. And she's like, no, I need answers from somebody here. You know, we got people dying and all this stuff. And she was like, well, we need to take Marianne over here. Marianne, one of the women laying on the ground, she's bleeding out. She needs to go. And this comes back, this line. She was like, this is Virginia saying to June, you need to know when to put a dog down. She's severely hurt. She's not going to make it. This is a waste. And June just gives her like a dead look, like, no. She tells Sarah, take her. So Sarah's like, yep, that's it. Puts her on a stretcher. Boom, they bring her out. It's like, all right, well, what about Wes? Wes is going to be next. So then they start going through that whole little thing there. But real quick, before I move on, anybody found that funny? Just like Virginia's reaction to the, no, I don't give a shit, really. Because now we know she's not there because she cares. She's there because she wants to know who's doing this. And she thinks that one of the people there is doing this. That's a sabotage. One of the saboteurs, I should say. So do you agree with that? Do you think that she's on the right path with all this? Or she should have been more caring? Dana?
No, this, like you said, she's there for a motive. She's not really there because she cares. She has those moments so that people can think that they can trust her. But I thought that it was cold, it was vicious, but it was also very Virginia. Just like, recall back with the whole boombox situation, where she just she's there for a purpose. And so I think there could have been the possibility of someone dying before giving her the answers, but she doesn't really care about that either.
Well,
we kind of do see later.
Yeah, exactly. And as we see later, with a bunch of people do die because they turn into walkers, and then that leads to problems. But here's the part that I found a little like, I guess not really suspicious or anything, but I was like, you know what, it's got to go with the story. This is just how it works. Is that we see that she tells two of her soldiers, the two rangers that were with her, to head over to the bunks then, and to go and find whatever you can find. That's what she said. She said it very general. I watched that scene again because she didn't say anyone in particular. She just said, hey, go over to the bunkers, find what you can find. Because if I can't get these people to talk, because that's the thing. She wants to interrogate everyone. She wants to interrogate Marianne. She wants to interrogate everyone. And June is just trying to save lives. But these two guys come back and they have, I thought they were going to have a bunch of things to dump. But no, they have the footlocker for Wes. And as you know, now Wes is the only semi-surviving injured member there, while June is trying to take care of him. And Virginia says, dump it out. And so this brings me back to the scene that we saw in last episode with Janice. It's like, are they setting something up here, really? Because once they dump it out, we know something. They're gonna find something. They wouldn't film this scene unless they weren't gonna find something. And sure enough, they do. They find spray can. She picks it up. She's shaking it. She's like, "What's this? What's this?" And he was like, "I don't know. I like art." He said some shit. It was really cheesy, but I was like, "Oh man!" And she was like, "What's going on? Why are you doing this?" And he's like coughing up. And June's like, "What are you talking about?" She doesn't know yet. She still doesn't know what's going on here. She's like, "What's happening? Where's your brother?" And he's like, "I don't know where my brother is." And then she was like, "We have to get him out of here." And then Virginia starts pressing down on his wound, and he's screaming. And she's like, "Tell me the answer. Tell me." She's getting real. And I get it, because if you think about it, the scene overall is very impactful, because you got the whole place on fire. You got oil all around them. You got people behind them that are about to turn into walkers. There's a lot of chaos, and this guy's bleeding all over the place. She's pressing down on him. You got June, who's clueless about all this. Like, wait a minute, I just want to save this guy's life. Why are you doing this? She starts screaming at Virginia about this. Just stop, let's just get him out. And then Virginia has a little moment of clarity. It's like, you know what, you're right. You get him out, and I'll question him when we get out of here. You know, so real quick, what did you think, Rich? Because this was a good scene. I'm telling you, the more I watch this episode, as much as people will probably just say, you know what, this was really great for June. This is one of those. This was a great episode for Virginia. Her character, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, I'm seeing her in a different way. And I'm probably a way, if I was part of that community, I might be on Virginia's team. I could see myself as a ranger, because I'm like, you know what, I'm starting to get it. I see what you're trying to do. Maybe not perfect, because there's no group perfect. You know, Hail Negan, we always talk about that. It's not perfect, but he had good motives. He's watching over his people. He's doing the best he can, and I see a lot of that in Virginia. Rich?
Yeah, well, I think one of the main formulas of Walking Dead is that, you know, you have to have characters that are complex. I know many times we've seen on the regular Walking Dead, Rick has made some very controversial decisions, but he did those decisions to protect the people in his group, his family, etc. So in the case of Virginia, I certainly can understand why some people would look at her differently after this episode. But yeah, she is obviously focused on whoever is causing all of these issues, as opposed to not really looking at the bigger picture and how everyone else around her is impacted. I mean, the whole reason she went after Morgan's group in the first place was so that she can be prepared for whoever this enemy is. And I got that feeling from the very beginning when they said, from the very first episode, when they introduced this whole "the end is the beginning," that told me, well, obviously, this is someone who is going to have to come at odds with Virginia. So I personally think, even though we can go back to all the previous episodes when they had the whole test of Victor about the key, talking about, oh, yes, you are the key, so on and so forth. The group is the key to helping her take down whoever this other group of individuals are. Mm-hmm. That's what I got out of this. Yep. And yeah.
And I'm not sure if I mentioned it. I think what happened is I mentioned it off air when we were discussing this. But during this whole little segment, especially with Wes, there was one of the people that, one of the miners that turned into a walker and attacked June. And Virginia did a nice, cool, clean headshot. But at the same time, and they really emphasize this, they show June lift up her hand. She has a nasty gash on her arm. And I wasn't sure if that was from just being scratched by something, because it didn't look like she got bit by the walker, but they never bring that up again. So that
well, actually, Dana can respond to this, but I do recall the walker that attacked her had some blades on their fingers, and we saw that because we saw the walker laid out after he got shot. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that was why the face was. She was cut up on her arms and on her hand, and didn't know whether or not she was bit or scratched. But she was it looked like razor blades or maybe some other form of knives.
It could have been like shrapnel that flew in her face, and that's what killed her. And then now she's a walker and walking around with this stuff stuck in her face.
No. The other group placed that there. They placed her hand with the blades so that when she attacked, she would full out cut you.
I mean,
and that's because she literally, what's her name? The crazy one.
Virginia.
Virginia literally said, "Look, this is they're plotting, they're planning this. This was a planned
Oh
attack
yeah, see, I missed that
because
part.
of that."
There we go.
And so, also, the another part was June couldn't stand the fact that the guy was in pain so much. Remember, he kept saying, what it was the art for. He was like, and then she's like, "Why do you like art?" And remember, was the brother? Is the brother
Yeah.
alive?
Because
And it
I
was
think
just
it's
getting
June,
ridiculous.
and it's because June's in the dark. She doesn't know about the messages being left
Right.
everywhere. I think if she knew that much, which I think they should have discussed while they were en route, that would have explained a lot more. It's like, hey, well, really, just say, Virginia, why are you here? It's like, well, I'm here because there was a member of our group at spray painting these messages. I want to see if it's related. That's all. But they didn't, so whatever.
No, because if you know, you're already, then you're giving the
Yeah,
person
no, I get it
the
for the
knowledge.
story.
And so what happened was June was the one who put him under with the, remember he shed the needle.
Yep.
So,
So we'll see. We'll
yes.
see. So the next scene is this is where it gets crazy, Dana, and this is gonna be your favorite part. This is it. So they go to run outside. Another great shot showing everything's on fire, everything's going crazy, and a door opens up in one of these structures here. More of these miners come out. They all have their mining hats, and they're all walkers now. They're all walkers. Virginia, they're trying to carry at the same time. They're trying to get. Virginia's actually not even helping with this one. I think it was just Sarah and June. They were trying to get Wes out. And as these walkers are attacking, June is just over there stabbing them all in the head. She's trying to get it done. But then we see Virginia. Virginia over here, one shot, pistol shot, headshots to all of them, dropping them Call of Duty style. I was like, this is nice. She's proving even more that it's like we don't know much about how she took over this group, if she did take it over or did she create it, but we definitely now see all the strengths of a leader, and she's proving it by always showing up on site, by just taking charge, making tough decisions, taking out the gun and being a badass with the gun. She knows what she's doing. She's like, yeah, we're doing it, pop out. She's banging them all down. I'm like, all right, cool. We got June now saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna lure them all away. She's done this before in other episodes and other seasons where we're like, yeah, this is the part where she dies, but here it is. That's what popped up in my head again. I think back at that kiss that she gave John. Oh yeah, I'm gonna come with you. We're gonna go run off. That's usually a bad sign when you come up with future plans. Don't come up with future plans on The Walking Dead. So she's like, come on, I'm going to lure them away, load Wes onto the truck and all the other injured, and we'll deal with it from there. So she goes to lure them away to another area. There's a big explosion. We see a nice, beautiful scene of the oil drilling with all the oil being pumped out. A gush of flames just go all the way up, blows everything. We just see everything. It's the whole area, far shot, destroyed. This I really enjoyed this scene. I really enjoyed all of it. Sense of urgency, sense of dread, sense of pure emotion. Everything just fit. I loved it. Rich, what did you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. I enjoyed everything about it. I will add that I believe that I know that you enjoyed the scene, but I also know you enjoyed it even more because it's not World Beyond. So
it is not World Beyond. If this was World Beyond, the kids would be laughing and they'd be listening to music and they'd be talking about drinking Mountain Dew and all that other shit. They wouldn't even care. They wouldn't even care.
And I think, yes, they had to hit home how urgent the situation is. So I think they did a fantastic job. It kept me on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen.
Oh, I know what's going to happen. We got to get it into it. Dana, you ready for this? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is it. This is the big one. This is the big scene of this episode. We see that Virginia has been knocked out. Remember, everything was exploded. Some debris fell on them. We don't really know where they are. They're just out. And she's laying on the ground. She's trying to wake up. All of a sudden, she sees there's a walker on top of her. She's fighting with this walker that's struggling to do anything. The walker bites her arm. She kills it, but now she's bit. Holy shit. Here we go.
Yeah.
Her hand. Yeah, it's right. It's her arm, hand, whatever. I'm saying the arm because we know that has to be cut. So
no, it makes it because it goes back to what is actually amputated.
But even if you do the arm, I mean the hand, I could have swore even if it's the hand, the arm still needs to go. You just can't cut the hand.
Nope, they explain why they didn't do the arm.
They do?
Mhm.
Why?
She codified it.
No, I get that part. That's not the. You're gonna have to do that regardless.
Yeah, but she didn't have to cut the arm because she stopped it once it hits a certain part of the body before it can get to the other parts and spread. That's all you need to cut.
Yeah, but I'm thinking not the full arm. I'm thinking like to the forearm. I'm just thinking that that's where it would have to go because the hand it's just a smaller piece. I don't know. I feel like it would have rushed really fast.
No, they explained that in like at least the first season.
I don't know. I've seen it before. I don't know. I think it should have been more, but for the scene and for what happens after, whatever. She gets bit. She's there. She's in shock. She gets a hold of the walkie-talkie. They ask her, "Hey, are you okay?" This is her Rangers. She's like, "No, I've been bit." So this is it. Now she's freaking out. She doesn't know what to do. She looks over, and then we see June. June is with her. It's like, okay, so now they're both in this little location here. No one else, just them two. They look on the ground. They see an axe. Virginia reaches for it. June rushes, picks it up. Like, nope, now she has the axe. I was like, well, there goes that. And we start seeing that Virginia starts tightening up her arm area there. She's getting ready. She's like, well, I need to take this off. She was like, you know how to do this, right? She's like, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to do this. It's like, what do you mean not going to do this? I need to help you. You've done this before. It's like, no, I'm not. No, it's not happening. I know, and it's like that whole urgency. And I was like, this is it. She could just kill her right here or just let her die. You know, and that's what she was telling her. And then that's when June throws back that line at her, saying, it's like, you need to know when to put a dog down. She was like, Virginia was like, oh, this is a completely different situation. And she gets pissed and attacks her. Again, another moment. It's like, she's like, you know what? I'm going out like a trooper. She attacks June, who has this axe. They start fighting. They're rolling around. This whole big thing is happening. Eventually, June gets the upper hand. She gets on the full mount on top of her. Virginia is like, you know what? Whatever. Just everything I do. She gave a long speech, but the gist of it is everything that she's been doing is for the greater good of the group. There are some other people out there that have other motives, and that's why she was there, trying to find out what's going on with them. But if she's not going to save her and she's just going to let her die, whatever, look after Dakota. Just look after her sister, because everything she's done, creating this group, doing all this, was for the future, for her sister. You know, and then she throws in one line here, was like, you don't know what it's like to care about someone and not be able to help them. And this was the sign, when I heard this line, I was like, oh, this is when June jumps in and says, oh, no, I lost my daughter this way, where she turned and she was in a hospital and I left her. No, but she didn't go there. And I guess it would have been too much dialogue. You know, so then at that point, that's when she freaks. And Dana, what happens here?
Well, what ends up happening is she has a very weird change of heart, which makes me kind of really sad about that. Because, you know, this was a situation where everyone kind of wants Virginia to die. And remember, this goes back to their other episode where everybody was kind of plotting to take her out. But instead, June has that change of heart, and she ends up chopping the hand off instead, and it completely, the sheer pain of it just kind of knocks Virginia out completely, and she awakens to seeing that her hand is now gone, but it's been bandaged very nice and professionally and neat, for as much as there not being a hospital.
And no supplies on hand. That was the thing. I saw them like, where are you getting these? You had them in your back pocket? What's going on?
So it was just the axe, and then she was able to seal the wound by heating the axe and burning it. Then burning, you know, the skin in order for it to be okay and Virginia not to die of blood loss. So she wakes up and she can see that she's grateful, but Virginia kind of struggles to say that she's grateful and thank you for doing what she did, but she seems to be much nicer about it. And they have that nice little conversation where it's like, I hope I didn't waste, you know, you don't waste this opportunity. The fact that I saved you. Don't make me regret that I saved you.
But then this is also the key part where June says what she wants. Because Virginia kept saying, it's like, what do you want then? What do you want? I give you your husband. What do you want? And we don't hear. We find out after this scene. But she then tells her what she wants and why she did it. All right, so there we go. Rich, anything you want to add to this scene? This was a powerful scene. This was a lot. Even in my notes I wrote, I was like, this is real Walking Dead. This is all of this. This is real Walking Dead. This is what we wanted. This is what the fans want. This is what the fans of the comic. This is how they read things. I could just imagine this in the comic book. Each panel, this is it. This is a page turner. You want to see what's going to happen. You could see June with the axe. Just envision this in your head, people. You know, you can't do that with World Beyond. I'm sorry. I hate comparing it, but man, you can't. You can't. Just keep going. All right, Rich, what did you think?
All right, so I agree. It was a very powerful scene. I also have to say that I agree with Dana of questioning why June made that decision, because if there was ever an opportunity to kill Virginia, you're not going to get a better opportunity than that one. But at the same time, I understand why she didn't go that route. And I think from a writing perspective, it's definitely going to make things a lot more interesting later, because we already know that Morgan has promised to Dwight in the last episode that they were going to get Jenny. They were going to make sure that they got rid of Virginia. He said that in the last episode. So now, when that moment comes, because as someone who is doing the show, you don't want to rob the viewer of seeing that confrontation. She almost got Morgan killed, so he is fully within his right to go after her. But now, it's going to be a bit of a conflict with that, because when others find out, if they ever find out that June had an opportunity to kill her, now they're not going to like that. And then, of course, you see other people, such as Vincent, who has completely bought into what Virginia is doing. So the group is going to have some issues when it comes to that moment where they have to kill Virginia or they have to take her out, because you're going to have people who are going to have conflicting thoughts about that. And just because, if let's say that Virginia keeps agrees, she doesn't go back on her word with anything with June, then June is going to be very sympathetic to her and not going to want to see her get killed either. So I'm very curious to see what kind of drama this causes later, because again, June, John, they don't know that Morgan is alive, and they don't know where Morgan is at. So
they never talk about Morgan. No one. Yeah. I thought, if anything, this would be the part where June was like, "Well, did you keep Morgan alive? Did you save Morgan? You know what I mean? What happened with Morgan?" No one brings him up at all, and I guess it's because of that. They don't want these actors talking about. They don't want these characters of the story bringing it up, because when it does happen, it's going to be a big surprise.
Mm-hmm. And also, what was really interesting, the fact that Jenna could have, not Jenna, I keep calling her Jenna because her name is Jenna Elfman, but the fact that June could have very easily killed Virginia in whatever state, it would be believable. Because remember, before she said anything, she let the two guys, that's always her superior, she said, "I'm bit." So easily she could have killed him and be like, "Well, she turned. I'm sorry." Yeah. And she could have gotten away with that.
The only problem, and this is the first thing that popped up in my head once she said that she was bit, and this whole thing, I was like, she's not going to die here, because they haven't set up a second in command. We haven't seen any second in command. If she dies, that's it. It's not like the alpha beta thing. If she dies, who takes over? Is it going to be John? Because that's the only person we ever seen next to her. The sister, no.
Probably,
sister, no. Sister had no. This is not a.
I don't know.
This is not an empire or anything like that. Kingdom, like, go to the bloodline. No, she was. Not, yeah, she did. Sister Dakota just running around eating candy and trying to run away with strangers. It's not happening. But you know what? We'll get into this, because this is it. There's another great scene here. So real quick, not this scene, it was the scene after this, but real quick, we see John also at the perfect timing. He comes in, he's like, "Oh, I found you," and they hug, embrace, and you see Virginia, and he sees the work that June's done to the arm there, and he's kind of shocked, like, what the hell? Yeah. So the next scene, we see they're outside. Virginia is now in the vehicle. Her rangers are there. It's like, "You need to rest." It's like, "Give me the walkie-talkie. I want to call my sister." It's like, "What? Just rest." "Nah, shut up. I want to talk to my sister. I need to hear her voice." But you can see on her face, she's a changed person from this. Plus, I'm sure she's a little. No, you don't think so? All right.
No.
Why you don't think so? You don't think that?
I'm pretty sure she's faced life and death before. This is not the thing that changes
faced life and death before. Yes, getting your hand amputated. Your shooting hand.
We can tell that's her first time, because she had both of them
That's
before.
What I'm saying. So this is a big. This is.
I don't think this is something that's changed. I think she's in shock at the moment, and that she will revert back to her normal self. when she settles into what actually
Well,
happened.
that's gonna come up. We'll bring that up in a second. All right. So then after that, let me see, where were we? All right. So now we get back into the truck, and we see the whole group there. We got Sarah, and we got John. Well, no, John isn't in this one, but we do have Sarah. We have Lucy and June, and of course Wes. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. Wes is okay. That was one of the things we also heard on the little walkie there. It's like, hey, because at the same time, I didn't bring it up because there's really not much to say with it. But at the same time that Virginia was giving her whole little speech for survival, we hear on the walkie-talkie that Sarah is trying to save Wes's life. And June is trying to walk her through it. And it seems to have worked. He's stable. He's over there now. He's talking with them. And they're like, what happened in there? What happened? Why didn't you kill her? You had the opportunity. And this is where we find out what was the agreement. And the agreement is she wants a hospital. And she wants to run it. And she wants to get the proper people behind it to run it. And that she said that Virginia agreed. Virginia's going to give her this hospital. And she's going to let her control it, or at least pick the people to control it. And everyone was like, are you sure she's going to live up to it? She's like, oh, no, she's definitely going to do it. And again, I don't know. We don't know. Is she going to stick by that? She doesn't really have to, but then again, this is the greater good for the group. It's not a very selfish request from June, like not saying, I want a mansion down by the lake, and you're going to give me this mansion down by the lake. No, this is a hospital to help people. And especially with everything that just happened now, especially with what happened with her hand, she probably really understand in her mind, yeah, I think it would be good to just have a central hospital instead of being rushed to the back of a damn truck. So they agree with that, and she says also, I said that I needed some new staff members, and she needed another member, and then just perfect timing, a car pulls up, and who do we see? Ta-da, Sarah's brother. And he's there like, hey, it's me. And she's all happy. And she goes running and they're hugging and stuff. It's like, oh, this is great. Get the band back together. All right, so I'm like, okay, I guess this makes sense. No one else was too pissed, but I don't know. Rich, what did you think of this big reveal right here when she tells the group that with the hospital? Do you think she's actually going to get the hospital?
Yeah, that pretty much was something I thought pretty much was going to happen, because at the beginning of the episode, that was the same question Sarah asked her. Did you ask Virginia to give you a hospital? And she said that she was reluctant to do so. So I already figured that was what she wanted. But I do agree with what Dana had to say. I don't know if that decision. I believe that there's a high possibility that this decision backfires later, because even though you saw at the moment Virginia was still reeling from what had just happened, this only gives her time to plot how she can turn this around in her favor later. Because again, she's power hungry. So I feel like that's definitely going to come up again.
Yeah. But the thing is, and I kept saying to myself, it's like, I could see her also doing the same thing, just back to me, I'm not doing this. But then again, it's a hospital. This is not a very selfish request. This is to help the group. And we just heard this entire time while she was there saying, I do everything for the group. I do everything for the people. There's another group out there. I'm trying to find them. That's why I was, trying to interrogate Wes. I'm trying to figure out who's doing this. There's a bunch of people out there that don't care about us. They want to see us all die. And she gives a whole speech. And so a hospital, that seems like an expected request, and it's something that's fitting for a town to have. Or a community. It's like, yeah, we should have a hospital. I'm surprised that they don't. They had a dentist, right? We heard that much. They have a dentist, so why not have a hospital? We do know they had a doctor, and he just died off camera. That we heard in the early part of the scene, but that's it. But you know what? That was cool. But real quick, this is it. This is it, people. Dana?
Can I speak?
Oh, you wanted something to say here? I wasn't sure if you had something
yes,
to say. Yes,
I have something to say. I am not too trusting, again, of Virginia. So I'm not really sure how great this would be. We know of many people who claim that they are doing something for the greater good and really looking out for people, and they say a lot of eyes, but it doesn't really mean anything if people are still trying to run away from you at the end of the day. Also, I thought it was one of those kind of really savage moves, because you kind of remember John in the beginning in the car, and he's like, I need you. And he's talking to June. And he's talking about how much he wants to get away and how much he needs her. And he wasn't even a thought in her brain once that hospital came up. She just kind of said, yep, I'm going to have the hospital, and just forget that whole conversation that she had with John. So that was hilarious to me.
Because she wants to help. Because remember, at the same time, she's over there telling Sarah how to help and save her life, and it worked.
Yes, but at also the same time, yes, we're going to run away. I had to leave this place. I can't do this anymore. She's essentially still staying. So to me, it was funny.
So basically, you're saying that both her and John have selfish actions, because John wants to escape with her, but she wants this hospital because now she will be able to help others.
John wanted her to escape with him because it was all like, I need you.
Yep.
It's lovely, essentially. Just lonely. And she's like, in her own way, yeah, but if she's helping other people, she's, going to be a doctor. It's still kind of selfish because you just said what you said.
Yeah, and what pisses me off and is that John still didn't tell June what happened to Janice. And that's the main reason why he wants to leave. He's so fed up. He could see how vicious Virginia can be. And I think if he would have told her, things would have been different. They could have been different. But he didn't say it. And even in the next scene, he doesn't bring it up. And I think go Rich.
And to go along with that, we've never seen her question, well, where's Janice at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We haven't seen that either. So I agree with what you're saying, for sure.
Yeah, because that's a key part right there, and I don't understand why he's keeping it so close to the heart. Just tell her, but they pretty much hung her out and had the walkers and the whole thing. Just tell her the horrible scene, and just to show. It's like, for what? What was the reason to this? And that was also horrible. So anyway, at this.
One quick thing, and then you can go to the last scene. The one thing I will say is that they did have their conversation where he had said that Janice had a escape plan, but again, we didn't see them ever have a conversation about what happened to Janice.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he said, Janice had this whole plan now. It's like, why are you skipping over the fact that she was killed by Virginia? Why are you cutting this out? I didn't understand it. You're willing to tell June the whole escape plan and how everything was left and prepared already, and that now this is the perfect time for them to go, and that was what Janice wanted. She told him all this so they can use it to leave. But here we go, and now there's other reasons why June wants to stay, and that goes into the last scene here. Well, the second to last scene, and we got with June and John. All right, so June runs over to John. Everyone's packing up. She runs over. She was like, you know what? I got something to tell you about the hospital. And he's like, that's not even on his train of thought right now. He's like, no. He's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Once they head off, we're going to go. We're going to get our stuff. We're going to leave at night. He's just rattling all the plans and steps to run away. And she's like, I'm not leaving. And he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, Virginia said she's going to give me the hospital. I'm gonna have the hospital and we're gonna save lives. And he's like, no, that's she's got the wool over your eyes. She's not gonna do any of this stuff. He's like, no, she is gonna do it. And she also said something, and I can get it, and we've heard this from countless members of Walking Dead on any show. They always say, I'm tired of running. I'm tired of moving. I want to find a place I can call home and where I can actually contribute. And she was a nurse for many years, and here it is. She just saved Wes's life. Yes, she lost a life, but she saved a life. And she also saved Virginia's life. And she feels that she serves a purpose. So it's not so much of a selfish act to just run off with her husband and live out into nowhere land back when they first met over in that cabin. But this is to just serve a purpose and save lives. And she was like, you're going to do this with me. We're going to do this. And he just gives her like this stone look. And she says, all right, I'm going to get in the truck. You're going to follow behind, right? And he gives her a kiss. And he's like, yeah. Now, this part here confused me a lot. Because for the longest, for even past 2 seasons before this, it was always about John trying to find June. It was that whole love thing. He loved her. He wants to be with her. She was running from him. It was a whole big thing till we found out backstory. Then they got married. That was a big thing from last season. And even at the beginning of this season, it was all about he wants his wife. Last episode, he gets his wife. But the fact that he's pushing so hard to leave, even though he now has her there, and doesn't mention anything about the reason why he wants to leave so bad, which is the whole death of Janice, throws me off because of what happens next. And we'll discuss this whole part now. We get a nice little overhead shot where we see the truck, and we see John and his car behind the truck. They approach a fork in the road. Truck goes left. And John goes right. And he just keeps driving. Is this telling us that he's officially gone? Because I know that's what they want us to think. Oh man, he just ran off. Or maybe he just needs time to think. Because think about this, like I just said, his whole journey on this show was for June. That was his new sense of life and another reason for still being alive. It's June. And I just can't see him walking away from this because of his hatred for Virginia. It's like, well, where are you going to go? He has no plans. It's not like, oh, I know a compound or a community off to the west. He doesn't know anything. He just knows he wants to be with June. Well, now you know June is staying. So now what? You're just still going to leave her? Your whole journey, your whole discovery and everything about yourself, this character on this show has been for June. And now you're going to abandon all that? Because you're pissed at Virginia? I don't know. So there you go. This was it. Dana, what did you think of this?
Sorry. I thought it was very simple. I thought it was one of the situations where we saw just previously with the other character and his wife. Not really, the relationships are not going to seem to last during this apocalypse situation. I think that they just had, they were traveling two different paths now. And it was a literal and a figurative visualization of that. So
yeah. So
and it wasn't like they was chasing somebody down, like you saw the car, the truck stop and then try to get on the other road, or she run out. And it's two different paths that they have to take. He has to leave her.
And this is, we've seen this type of judgment not just with the previous couple with Dwight and his wife, but also from the previous seasons with Morgan. When he was doing the deliveries and all the truck, originally he wanted to bring that whole group to Alexandria. That was the plan. Once we get everybody together, we're going to go to Alexandria. But then he said, hey, you know what? We found these people that were doing the deliveries, and they were doing these deliveries to help the other survivors that are out there that just don't want to really be part of a group, just want to be solo. And he felt that was a need, and he had a change of heart, and he decided not to go. And just to continue that. That was before the Virginia and all that craziness happened. But now we're seeing the same with June. Now she's all about the hospital and no longer about leaving. And even if Morgan does show up, and we know that eventually is going to happen, what's going to be her judgment? If she doesn't have the hospital, then yeah, she leaves. But if she does have that hospital, does she go? Does she do all that? Or does she say, you know what, Morgan, I'll help you. We take over this whole place. We get Virginia out. And we take over. And as we know, and we see it now with just society, usually it's the doctors, the lawyers, and other higher-ups that are the leaders, the religious leaders, the pillars of the community. So if she's, quote-unquote, the doctor now, and she's in charge of this hospital, I could see people in the community backing her up if she decides to overthrow Virginia. But, Rich, what did you think of all this?
Yeah, well, I heard a rumor that you were crying when you saw them part ways, going different roads.
Next time I tell you something off air, don't bring it up on the show. You need to learn how to keep secrets. There's a reason why I didn't press record when I said, but all right, keep going.
But no, but no, in all seriousness, this is the theme of this particular season is about change. The group is changing. So him deciding to go his own separate way, it's not really too surprising, although I do believe that that's a bit of an issue because we already know how strict Virginia is about the check-ins. So when they tried to check in with him, I kind of feel like he knows where she's at, so he can always come back. Mm-hmm. But if he does come back, there's no way that he can go back and not be punished for leaving. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to turn out. But there's no way he's going to leave his wife behind. Yeah. Not after all this time.
That's what I'm saying. It's like the only other thing I could think of is that if this is exactly the path that he took and he did leave at this moment, then he has to somewhere along the lines bump into Morgan and that group and then tell them what's going on. And now he's part of it. So when he does return, he's returning with Morgan and everyone else and Alan and Dwight. And maybe that might be enough. But again, if you're bringing in this type of firepower, I would say with that group and everyone else there, you can overthrow Virginia. Go down that road and keep this area, keep this development. But then again, that will go against everything that Morgan has been doing and what they've been showing us at the earlier half of this season, where he's building a community. Remember, he built the structure, he put all the weapons, he's got everything set for a big battle that we're assuming is going to happen toward the end of the season, and it's going to take place at that new location, not over at the town, Virginia's. Yeah, and that's something we still don't know. We still don't know where all these other groups are. Like the brother that showed up, Sarah's brother. Where was he? He wasn't at the town. He wasn't with Dwight. Dwight never mentioned because Dwight had told Maureen he doesn't know where anybody else is. So, how many are out there? How large is this quote-unquote army that Virginia has of Rangers? We don't know. A lot of questions, but you know what's not a question? How good this episode was. This was a good episode. This season has been great. If you're not watching Fear, if you're just listening to these reviews and quote-unquote spoilers, because, I mean, we're hoping you guys already watched this, start watching this. Stop watching the World Beyond. If you're looking to save space on your DVR or whatever it is, your timing, say, you know what, I gotta only pick one, I could only watch one, then pick Fear. This is it. If you want that Walking Dead feel, and if you miss that feel, there's a certain feel. I'm telling people know it. I'm sure there's some people nodding that. Yeah, we get that feel. This gives you that. World Beyond does not, but this does. This definitely does. And so far, I think we've been giving every episode up to this point all thumbs up. Everything has been solid. This has been a great season. And I'm looking forward to it. That's when you know a show is doing something right. When you're like, yeah, I can't wait till next week. I want to see what's going to happen. World Beyond, I could care less. I could care less what happens to Iris and Hope and all of them. They could all get into a truck and get lost and end up in Canada. I don't care. Don't care. But we're still going to cover it because that's what we do. And that's almost over. Thank God. It's only 10 episodes.
Yeah. So
the greatest show ever. I don't know what you're talking about. It's such a great show.
And people, that's the last time you will hear Dana Abercrombie on this podcast.
Iris needs all of the Oscars.
She needs all the Oscars.
Let me just make one final comment because I know you're about to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just my own theory. When Virginia had the conversation with June, talking about she was trying to, get back to her sister, make sure she is okay. I would love to see a twist where later on it is revealed her sister knows something about this group or is in some way working with this group. Because that would just be a complete heartbreaker for the Virginia character, because she alluded to the fact that she used to love her. Is something happened between those two characters.
Oh, you mean the end is the beginning? You think she's part of the cult?
She thought she was dying. That's why she changed I love her to I used to love her.
Yeah.
This is when she was fighting with June.
Her, and then I had to kill her. That's a song. There you go.
But we know that with Dakota, she obviously is no secret that she wants to get away from Virginia. She's not really agreeing of everything that she does. So if she ends up being a part of this, the end is the beginning, that'll be an excellent twist. I don't know how she will be involved or how she is helping them gain access to the facilities. Maybe that's a way that she's actually why they know where everything is at. But I can't wait till they reveal what this group is.
It better be good.
And also, don't forget, Virginia's working for someone. She's not her own boss.
Oh, yeah.
So I would like to have more information on that as well, and whether or not they sent her out to find out who these the end is the beginning people are.
I think we all know it's going to be the CRM, and that's the whole reason why she's pumping all this fuel, because she's supplying the CRM for fuel for their helicopters. That's what I was thinking. That's it. That's the trade-off. You get to have your communities and do your thing, but you just keep giving us fuel, and you're running the show here. So I don't know, but we'll see. That's just my theory. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in and watching and subscribing and liking and commenting for Fear the Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 6. Bury her next to Jasper's leg. This was great. I like it. I'm looking forward to the next episode. So thanks again, everybody. See you next time. Peace.